You know, one of the most life-changing things you can do for yourself? It's to allow yourself to be bored. All too often these days, we can't just sit with ourselves in boredom. It's way too uncomfortable. And it eventually, if you're used to really overstimulating your mind, it's almost depressing. It's almost depressing to just not always have something to do, always something on the TV or on your phone or listening to a podcast or talking to someone, but to just be. But the reason it can be the most life-changing thing for you is because when you can allow yourself to be bored, you allow your brain to come back into balance within itself. Because when we're so used to overstimulating our mind, triggering that reward pathway in the brain, what we've done is we've tipped this balance in our brain, this pain-pleasure balance, to the side of pleasure. And when we overload that side of pleasure through anything, like I said, scrolling, it could be eating certain types of foods, it could be watching TV, it could be watching porn, it could be doing drugs or alcohol or anything to trigger that reward pathway. When you've overloaded that side of pleasure, your brain will start to try to balance that out by subsequently tilting it to the side of pain or discomfort, which could be boredom. It could be that sense of anxiety or withdrawal from whatever the vices or the stimulus that we use to overstimulate ourselves, to really always need to feel good. And in sitting with the boredom, as I said, it starts to feel uncomfortable. It starts to feel painful or boring, or you feel this anxiety or this sense of almost feeling like depression. It's not a bad thing. When you can move into that, it doesn't last. In fact, on the other side of that is probably the life that you actually want and the version of yourself that you want to be. Because if you're so used to stimulating yourself and you don't sit with this boredom, you don't allow yourself to be uncomfortable, you're going to just continue on the same path. And you will be a slave to your urges, to that feeling in your mind and your body that tells you that you're not okay, you need to be doing something. And I can only imagine the long-term effects of this on your not only your mental health, but your actual brain structure, chemistry, the neural pathways in your brain. It's like if we were to overconsume sugary food, that's not good for our body, our body composition, our blood pressure, our different health markers. So over-consuming content, information, constantly stimulating that reward pathway cannot be good for the brain. And again, if that's just the physiology, the neuroscience side of it. That's not even taking into account the life that you're not living by always stimulating your brain, by being a slave to these urges. And I've been there. And I think that's why I opened the video by saying in this day and age, it's the most powerful thing you can do to change your life is just to be bored, because nowadays you never have to be bored. Nowadays we're all so susceptible to these things, these vices, especially, when we come from a place of dysregulation within ourselves. Now, you don't have to sit with yourself. You don't have to sit with the discomfort, the uncomfortable emotions, or the boredom, or whatever it is. You can just order takeout. You can just, turn on Netflix or scroll TikTok or whatever it is. And it's the most damaging thing that we can do, this short-term instant gratification. I really feel like it's destroying us. But you have the power to change it. And I'll admit, the longer that a person has lived this way, living compulsively from their reactions, from their compulsions or their urges, the harder it is to break that. The more momentum you have going in a certain direction. It's not easy. It's very uncomfortable. The good news is if you are uncomfortable, that's the sign that you are probably on the right track. to breaking this pattern. And just sit with it. Just breathe. By doing this, you strengthen yourself, your self-trust, your self-confidence, you regulate your nervous system, and you build the foundation of yourself to stand on your own 2 feet, to tolerate discomfort, to be the conscious creator of your life, to be the conscious captain of your life, rather than the unconscious passenger to your urges, to the compulsions that you might have. It's a daily practice, and it's not easy, especially when, as I said, these things are all around us all day, every day. You never have to sit with the discomfort if you don't want to. Whereas in the past, that wasn't the case. We didn't have the social media. We didn't have all of the streaming services or any of that kind of stuff. You just had to sit with yourself. Maybe read a newspaper. But nowadays, reading a newspaper seems like probably the most boring thing in the world. So if you want to take your life back, learn to be bored. It's one thing that I've learned in my life is moving into the boredom is probably one of the most empowering things and impactful things you can do for yourself. So just know that, as I said, the start is going to be the hardest part. I gave an analogy in another video where I talked about making these changes is like having a car driving down the road where you have so much momentum going down the road. And if you wanted to turn the car around and move in a different direction, you'd have to slow the car down first. There'd be so much momentum in that vehicle that you wouldn't be able to just stop and do the other thing and turn and go the other direction. Same is true with us in life. If you have so much momentum going in a certain direction, be patient with yourself. Understand that it's not going to happen overnight. Give yourself some grace for making mistakes, because the first step to change is self-awareness, is seeing the patterns, seeing the thoughts, seeing the reactions that have created your life up until this point. And it can be very discouraging because as you start to want to make these changes in your life to create a different reality or be someone different or whatever that is, you start to see all of these patterns. You start to see all of these things. The old version of yourself is right in front of you. You see it. You see the things that you never really saw before. And it can be very discouraging. But remember, you don't have to live by these things anymore. The self-awareness is just the first step. Second step is making a different choice. Not believing the thoughts, the urges, the compulsions, the reactions, that autopilot pattern, conditioning, the program of your brain. You don't have to believe it anymore. You can choose to move in a different direction in spite of that. And again, like that car driving down the road, it can be very, very difficult at first to sit with the boredom, sit with the discomfort, to break the pattern. Break the patterns that you've lived by for so long. But it's possible. Start by just being bored. You will bring balance back to your brain and into your body, your nervous system, when you can sit with this discomfort rather than needing to constantly cope and try and soothe it with other things. So I hope this video helps. Know that being bored will change your life if you can do it consistently and regularly. It's like a muscle that you are strengthening within yourself, and you're slowly taking your life back by being more conscious in life, being more regulated. So I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.